Deutsch.
And I'm Barbara Menino.
And today on Soapbox Wisdom, our conversation is going to be around the thought of you need to own it. Now, wait a minute. Before we get into the real meat of the conversation, Barbara, I need some clarification on it. This is one of those
Such-
things like when they say, who is they? Okay, so today we're just talking about it. And then we'll get into the meat of this.
So it's such a teeny little word, 2 letters, but if you really think about it, it has tremendous scope and power. Owning it, with the emphasis on the it, is being true to yourself. Just like Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. Projecting who you really are, the person that's inside of you, bringing it to the outside, being confident enough, having enough belief in yourself to do that. That all adds up to ownership. And
Well,
thus, our
so you're
term,
saying,
owning it.
okay, I apologize here. So, but it is that more of a feeling? Yeah, I'm just trying to, like we
I
say,
think it's a
it.
thing. It's a
It's a
thing.
thing.
It's a
It's a thing.
state of it's a state of being. It's
Okay.
your presence. It's how you show up in the world, personally and professionally. Yes, it's a state of being. It.
Okay. Okay. It. Okay. So, okay. Well, now we had been talking the other week. You were relating a story to me about the situation you were in, and somebody said to you, "Well, Barbara, you have to own it." And from what you were telling me, I think it took you aback a little bit and got you thinking. But tell our audience briefly, just briefly, what that situation was and how that came about.
So, yeah, and that really is what got our whole wheels turning about this conversation. Um, I was consulting with someone, helping this person prepare her speech and her presentation. And she really liked what I had to say. And I made some comparative statement, myself with someone else, someone who's known and publicly accomplished, a guru, you might say. And it was kind of that person, me. And she said, "You got it all, the wisdom and the knowledge. You got to own it." And that made me stop and think, yep, you got to own it. You got to believe in yourself.
Okay. So would you say up to that point that you weren't believing in yourself?
I would say it was probably sometimes yes and sometimes no. And I know in life there are highs and lows. We're not always on, we have good days and bad. But now we're talking about a belief system, a self belief system. And I might have to say that I didn't always have it to 100%.
Mm. Well, no,
And
I
I
think,
had to stop and think about that when
yeah.
she brought it to my attention.
Well, but in that situation, because you were kinda like the authority in the room, I guess it was on Zoom or something like that, you were the
Yep,
authority in the room.
yep,
So, in that situation, the group well, this person felt that you were not owning it, um,
right.
versus yeah,
Because I started to make it, it was really not in anything I was projecting,
mhm,
but what I was saying. And I
mhm.
brought in this whole comparative thing. And me against a guru, and I was like this. There was no balance. And she was actually suggesting that I should feel my power and my ownership so that we were in complete balance.
Yeah. So you were comparing yourself, which, yeah, we do and we're not supposed to do, to someone who was ahead of you in the business world. Um, and yes,
Totally.
I've,
Yep.
you know, preaching to the choir here. And I hope our listeners are identifying with this also because we really, we do this. We look at who's ahead of us and we compare to that. And like you say, you weren't feeling totally in alignment. Well, they're ahead of me in business. I'm I can't own it because they know more than I do. But you found this part of Barbara that is in alignment with them. And I think it's fascinating to discover these things about ourselves because we tend to take that back seat when we're looking ahead and saying, "Wow, we're looking at the big picture." Whereas maybe we need to look at those little pieces of like what you brought to the table that day. And that's a piece for you to truly own it and have that confidence that in that area, you are an equal. Even though we're not supposed to like compare, anyway.
Well, did your mother ever tell you or your grandmother that comparisons are odious? Which they are. We spend far too much time in life comparing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
just what you said, that in that context there was equality. In fact, taking it a step beyond, we didn't even have to talk about the equality because I just was in that moment being me, um, presenting with my expertise,
Mhm.
giving guidance to a client. In this case, it was actually a friend, so she could speak openly to me, giving guidance to my friend.
Yeah.
And that's all there was. There
Yeah.
didn't have to be anyone else in the room, anyone sitting on my shoulder, a little person in my head saying, Barbara, you don't measure up to that person who's ahead of you in business.
Yeah.
And it makes me smile, just as we're talking about it. It makes me smile. And my ability to smile at that and kind of go, aha, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
that is delightful. And if you capture that delight and assimilate it, it helps me and it will help you have better presence. Just
Yeah.
be delighted in who you are.
Well, and I think then something else started to come up. You had brought the question up, like when we have these realizations, that oh my gosh, we do have this knowledge, and I own this. I have the confidence. Well, do we really need to get the help of somebody who's ahead of us in business? And I feel just because we're good at, "Oh, I'm really good at this." As I talk a lot about wearing all the hats in your business. Just because you're good with one hat doesn't make you good with all the hats. So, I think moments like that, though, when you realize you've got it, maybe that's that inner voice saying to you, Barbara, time to move on, time to find the next person that's ahead of you that has what you need or something. I don't know.
Well, that's really like seeking out mentors, right?
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
I remember in corporate life, the big deal was having a mentor, somebody who was, in fact, just by the corporate hierarchy, was in fact ahead of you in business,
mhm.
but saw enough of a rising star quality in you that she could mentor you up to the next level. and the next level and the next level. So you're absolutely right. If you go by on the premise that we're continually growing and evolving,
Mhm.
we do need a helping hand to get us from A to B, to get us from X to Y, right?
Mhm.
We need that guidance. And there's nothing shameful in that. There's nothing self putting down in that. It's just knowing that we want to grow.
Well, but I see now you talk about shameful in that I don't
Oh, that was
see
a
that
strong word. Yes.
I don't see that coming up. It's more of, people who have had guidance and then say, "Okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna go off and do it myself." As we talked in previous episodes of Soapbox Wisdom, and I don't want this to be the same conversation here, but it's that, thought that you can do it alone, whereas again, we're not capable of understanding everything that we have to do. So there's always some level. Now, yes, it's okay to go for some time, I think, without having someone in your camp. Um, and but the thought that you okay, I got this piece. Now I'm gonna go it alone. Just seems a mistake. Um,
But isn't
just
that
my
also a bit of a lack of confidence in a
Mhm.
way?
Mhm.
Thinking that you can go it alone because you've gotten here and now you can go there without any guidance. And it's almost like a bravado, a
Mm.
chest pounding. When in fact, if you just acknowledge where you are, who you are, the talents that you have, and know that you can dig deeper, cultivate them further, and you need some guides to do that. It just seems
Yeah.
like a natural process. And it's all part, by the way, of owning it.
Just as you were saying that, I was just feeling, the thought of, yes, okay, so I am going to own it, this piece of everything. And then, realize though that and I'm okay with where I'm at. I'm not going to compare myself to others, but knowing that there's more. And where do I go to find that more? Well, there's always more. We're never at the top. There's always something more. But I don't know. Just as you were saying that, I was just feeling it like, wow, what a wonderful realization. And it again cuts out on making those comparisons and then going down that rabbit hole of, oh, I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
Oh, um, but in all of this, though, I am still a firm believer. I can have all the confidence in the world. I can own it. But if I'm not getting the results that I need, what good is it? So I want our listeners just to remember that. It's like feeling great is awesome, but if you're not getting the results you need, and that brings up another story. You got so many stories, Barbara. Um, of a presentation you recently made to a group who relies on PowerPoints. And now
A
that's a whole
PowerPoint
subject in
story.
itself of whether you use a PowerPoint all the time or not. But tell our audience what happened there.
Oh, yes. So, first of all, I just want to underline you said the word it's okay. And by the way, I think that's, again, a small word that has a lot of impact. And actually, it relates to this PowerPoint story. I don't know how you all feel about PowerPoints. I'm not a big lover of them. I suspect it's partly because I'm not really good at PowerPoint. But when I'm required to do PowerPoint, I become extremely perfectionistic and I take so much time trying to get it looking right and pretty, etc. So I had this presentation that I was making before a group, and they do require PowerPoints. And I knew what I wanted to say. I had the speech or the presentation down pat, not memorized, but down pat. because I knew my material, but I labored till in the middle of the night over the PowerPoint. And at 8 o'clock the next morning, when I was there to give the presentation, I stuck the HDMI cable into my laptop. Guess what? The PowerPoint wouldn't open. The irony of such a late night for naught. And they said, "Do you still want to give your presentation?" And I kind of looked at them and they looked at me, and we simultaneously said, "Well, why not?" So I just started talking. I could see, talk about ownership, that I owned the room. There were smiles on the faces, nods of their head while I was speaking. And at the end of it, words like, "You were incredible, you were amazing, you were riveting." And I say that with confident humility. You have no idea how wonderful I felt. But the aha from that was that I love what I do. I love talking about story and how it makes a difference in presence and impact online, on stage, and in networking. And so, just so naturally, I could talk about it with an energy that was all my own. And I captured the audience. And I had 2 discovery calls after that,
Mm.
which are potentially moving, at least one of those 2, to a sales call. So there to your results. But it just goes to show that I was in the moment. I was in my story. I was not only connecting with others, but I was delighted with my own story. And there's the coup, because when you are delighted in your story, you do have ownership of it, and you do project with an energy that's all yours. You light up a room, it makes a difference. I'm a believer.
Oh, that's a great example of that. Like you say, you owning it, you knew your stuff. You knew what you, and then the results, getting the results. That's what I love about the story. You got results. And even further than that, the bigger result then also though too is to show that group that yes, it can be done well without a PowerPoint. Um
Yeah.
It's so nice to introduce people to different concepts that they never dreamed were possible, and you did that. So I find that amazing.
It's another very interesting thing. When we show up in the world, and really kind of in the professional world, but even in life as well, sometimes we're concentrating so hard on proving who we are that we don't relax and enjoy the ride.
Mm.
When, again, when you own it, when you have belief in yourself, that's the ultimate invalidation, and the ultimate springboard to helping people make decisions, change behaviors, buy your products or services.
Mhm.
That's what owning it does for you. And it's more fun, by the way. It's more fun.
Yeah.
Less pressure, more fun.
Yeah, yeah, I never thought this conversation would go this way, Barbara. I do appreciate that you brought this up, and it even brought some things up for myself, that I need to look at, and but some of the word like talked about ownership, and then it brought other things to mind of, well, isn't this like confidence too? But there's yeah, so many yeah, we talked about several different things here. Um, do you want to wrap the episode up, Barbara?
I I would love to. Again, confidence in yourself, belief in yourself is important. It gets results, it completes you, it makes you feel good about yourself. It makes you able to have ownership of it. It all begins and ends with you. That's what owning it is all about.
Soapbox Wisdom is hosted by brand messaging and storytelling consultant Barbara Menino and business and mindset coach Christine Rothdeutsch. You can find them online at barbaramenino.com and christinerothdeutsch.com.